Will Ripley here, coming at you live from the JamPlay studios. And just to let you know, this is indeed a live event. It is Friday, August 5th. And firstly, guys, thanks so much for joining me. I really like to work with and teach people that are really committed to guitar. So just the fact that you've shown up here and you're watching this on the video right now just shows me that you want to learn how to play guitar and you want to get better. And so what we're going to be doing today and throughout the weekend is a really cool event. And so I just want to start this session off like that and just let you know, give you a big virtual high five right now and just let you know I'm really stoked that you showed up. And hopefully you're going to get a ton out of this session. Of course, that's my big mission and my big goal is to help you with your guitar playing. And so let's just, so maybe you can see a chat box right there on your screen. So why don't you guys just let me know where you guys are tuning in from. You can let me know your city or your state or your country or wherever you are. Love to hear that. So so you can just get used to that function, because what you can do is if things pop in your head as we go through this lesson today, just feel free to type in questions and anything that you need. And I'll be sure to do my best to answer any kind of burning questions that you have about guitar or gear or anything music related. All right, so is anything coming in there, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, almost too fast to read. Chicago, Massachusetts, Pickerington, Ohio, New Brunswick, Canada, Vienna, Austria, Newport Beach, Kentucky, Philly, Strunk, Kentucky, Cardiff, UK,
Okay.
Hooksett, New Hampshire,
That's in UK, yeah.
Russia,
Canada,
Maryland, Monroe, North
Russia.
Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia. All right, some fellow Canadians. I was born in New Brunswick, Canada, so there you go. Great, guys. So now, just in case you guys don't know, I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're doing here and who I am and all that good stuff. So this is day number 1, session number 1. And we're going to be doing a session Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we're going to be meeting up again in about, 3 hours? 3 hours from now,
3
right?
hours.
3 hours. And then another, we'll be meeting up for the third session 3 hours after that. So this is a big, deep workshop. We're going to be going through a bunch of material. And kind of the idea is that it is supposed to be one after the other. They're all connected. So, I guess my big question for you guys right now is really what kind of level you are on the guitar. And before you go ahead and type that in, let's just bring a little bit of clarity to what that is. And so this 3-day workshop, 9 sessions total, is kind of designed for the total beginner that is just getting their wheels turning on guitar playing. That will, and by Sunday, I'm hoping to get you guys into some full strumming and just playing some recognizable songs. So now, let me ask you guys this, okay, before you type in what your answer to that. So let's say if I were to pull up a tab on the screen, or if I was to put some guitar tab right in front of you right now, would you be able to read it? Yes or no? Let's just make it a very yes or no kind of question. So go ahead and let me know. So if I were to plunk some sort of tab in front of you, would you be able to read it? Would you be able to nail it? So what's coming in? Lots of yeses, lots of nos.
Still waiting on that. Probably got a little bit of video delay here.
There's a slight delay.
There's a no, a couple no. Well,
okay. Well,
bunch of yeses, a lot of yeses.
Okay. Cool. And so that's kind of the first thing that we're going to be going into is just getting the fingers moving across the fretboard. So now, I think this would be a good transition just to tell you a little bit about my teaching philosophy and what you can expect through this session and moving forward. And hopefully, if you really want to get your guitar playing into that kind of more that intermediate zone, then I would highly recommend linking up every single session for the next 9 sessions here. And imagine if by the end of Sunday night, you could transform your guitar playing. You probably would prioritize this, right? So, and so just a little bit about my teaching philosophy and who I am. So the idea and the way that I've structured this 3-day program is in my 3-step system, okay? So step number 1 and day number 1, which we're going to be focusing on from here on out, is single note riffs, okay? So bass line style riffs. So that means like one note at a time. And, if you think about, there's a ton of bands that do this, like in Paradise City by Guns N' Roses, Black Dog by Led Zeppelin, a lot of Rage Against the Machine songs use these single note heavy lines that are, they're really melodic, they're catchy, but also what's great about single note riffs and learning single note riffs is that, of course, it's just one finger at a time, therefore you don't have to do like complex 4-note chords and stuff like that. And it ends up being just a lot easier to get these single note riffs going on, because check it out, they're like finger exercises. So I could give you scales, right, which are also single note things, right? We could go through scales and stuff like that. But the thing is, I mean, how cool is that? It would be way more cool if I were to give you something, a little more catchy, a little more rhythmic, something that you can kind of hum to or get stuck in your head, or you could show your friends and family and stuff like that, right? So that's the great thing about learning single note riffs, is just that whole thing about like just getting your fingers moving across the fretboard. So that's kind of like what we're going to be getting into day 1. And then, so that's really step 1 of my teaching philosophy, is getting people locked into that kind of idea. And then stage 2 would be doing power chords and moving those shapes around. So those are 2 to 3 finger chords, stuff like this. So the great big first finger, third finger, and adding your pinky finger, and then being able to move those around. So that's always a really great next step, is to get a hold of power chords. If you think of a song like Iron Man by Black Sabbath, that's just like a great overall kind of power chord song. And then from there, that's kind of stage 2, and that's what we'll be getting into tomorrow for all the 3 sessions, all kinds of power chord techniques, rock and roll strategies, all that good stuff. And we will be getting into some rock and roll techniques and some strategies today too, of course. But and then on the 3rd day, once we kind of get those fingers moving across the fretboard, we get them strengthened up, and then and only then would we get into full-fledged chords, switching chords, strumming in between chords, and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that's kind of my next question for you guys right now. Who here can, and again, it's just going to be a yes or no question. So who here can switch between chords totally flawlessly and effortlessly, play a whole bunch of strum patterns, and just rock a whole bunch of recognizable songs using strumming and chords? So if that's you, then say yes, and if that's not you, then just say no. And while those are coming in, I'll just introduce myself. So my name is Will Ripley. I'm a Canadian guitarist, but I also spent some time in Los Angeles doing some touring and playing with all kinds of big names. And I've been really fortunate and grateful to have toured and performed and recorded with some legitimate rock stars. And I'm also a studied guitar player. I've gone to the Berklee College of Music and studied music. And also I've just had a big passion not only for guitar playing, but also teaching. I just love to teach, and I've been really fortunate, again, and very grateful that I've been able to reach literally thousands of people. And JamPlay has been a great resource for a bunch of those people, and it's been so cool getting connected with all of you guys. I just love the guys here at JamPlay. It's just super fun to come down here and do this recording. So I actually have 4 series. I know there's only 2 series up on the site right now. I've got rock guitar for beginners and classic rock guitar. That's kind of like just getting beyond the intermediate stage. And so, beyond the beginner stage. So there's 2 courses up right now. And then we've got another 3 coming out. So got an acoustic course, a theory course, and also a course on Slash coming out. So some exciting stuff. So what's the word, Jeff?
It's looking like about 50-50 no to yes.
Okay.
And just for your earlier question, I would say about like 80% of the people were able to read the tab. So
Okay.
that's cool.
Okay. Cool. So, so I mean, as you can probably imagine, I have to try to help everybody right here. So I'm going to do my best to make this as engaging and as relevant as possible. Okay. So, now one thing, just to make sure that this is like one of these things that we could just kind of check in on ourselves and just make sure that we're all doing this, because I've taught people that have been playing for years, for instance, that have never been like introduced to this technique I'm about to share with you. And so what I want to go over is your left and your right hand technique. So if you are strumming chords, if you're just like totally crushing it on guitar, then maybe this session might be too beginner for you. However, I want to get into this left and right hand technique, and so at least then we can get into something so that will probably be relevant for each and everybody here. So let's talk about the left hand. Okay, the left hand is pretty easy. Okay, so of course we've got these steel bars across our fretboard, and that's where we put our fingers. So I mean, the confusing thing is when somebody says the third fret, okay, so we count these bars, right? 1, 2, 3. The confusing thing is that we have really this whole area to put our finger down, okay? And so a lot of times what people will automatically do is just kind of plunk it right in the middle, okay? And so what I want to do is actually just show you the buzz test. So actually intentionally play really low towards the fret. So when I'm talking about low, I'm talking about that way, right? Because these are the low notes and those are the high notes, right? So when I'm saying low, it's referring to this way. So if you go really low on the fret and intentionally get that buzz sound, so you just lighten up your pressure on your guitar until you get that nasty rattle, right? So just recognize that how much you're pressing, and if you actually tuck that finger as high up to the fret as possible and apply that same amount of pressure, okay, you'll notice that you get a clear note almost every single time. Okay, so that's something that's just huge for your left hand. Okay, and so that will just instantly make chords sound better. Anytime that you hear that kind of that bacon sizzle or that rattle sound, then that's something that you can just immediately do super quickly. That will just get those chords, get those notes sounding a lot clearer. And it goes the same for chords too. Like say if you grab a D major chord, this is a great example. And in case you don't know this one, no worries. But it's the same idea. A lot of people play it down here. You can hear lots of rattle in there, right? So just slide that whole thing up, and voila, it sounds crystal clear, okay? So one thing I want to go over with the left hand too is the thumb placement, okay? So with a thumb on chords, well, you'll notice I'll just strum some random chords here. So check out my thumb. So what's it doing? It's just kind of hanging out over the top, right? And this is great when you get into more advanced stuff. When you're using your thumb, you can just actually press it down, just reach it right over, and you can start doing some Hendrix kind of style chording and some more advanced stuff. But what's great about the thumb in the chordal position is that you can actually mute a low string. So it's especially helpful on the C chord, the D chord, the A chords, A minor chords. When you can mute that low string, because a lot of times that string isn't supposed to be engaged, okay? And you can just touch it just a little bit so it gets muted. So instead of like being loud, it just gets muted. So, and then the other thing with the thumb is, say if I go ahead and play this crazy scale, so what you'll notice is my thumb's disappeared now, right? And so what I got going on there is I really just do have it right in the center of the neck, what I refer to as the thumbs up position. So if I got my guitar here, it's like the thumbs up is kind of going this way, okay? And I got that thumb engaged in the back of the neck, and then I've got this hand reaching around, and you can actually see from that side, the side profile there, that I've got like this 90-degree angle on my wrist, right? And so that helps me when I want to reach around for these big chords or big scales and stuff like that. Okay, so between all those things, that will definitely get some of the thumb ideas down. And so a lot of people, they wonder, where does the thumb go? And in fact, a lot of people actually put their thumb in the back of their neck, back of the neck for chords. However, this is kind of like, it's almost like a crutch, and something that as you progress and advance, you'll want to get that more of the palm in the back of the neck and the thumb hanging over. And but definitely, like, for people that are just starting to play chords, then the thumb you can actually get a little bit more squeezing power, because you're able to squeeze your thumb against your fingers. Okay, so those are some ideas for the left hand. And those are,
hey, Will.
Yeah.
We just had a small question. There's a couple lefties here, and they were asking if you could just say strum hand and picking hand, so they could not get confused and follow along quicker.
Fair enough.
Cool. Thank you.
My fellow lefties, I will look after you. Okay. So, okay, so now the big thing with technique. Okay, so the left hand was pretty quick, right? So we just go over some fretting things, just make sure those notes are high up on the frets, and talk about the thumb and some of that stuff. And just one more thing, like, when we got up to high up on the frets, I hope you realized that you didn't actually really have to press down too hard with your fretting hand. Okay, well, you can actually have quite a light touch. Okay. And that really helps to have your action nice and low too. And what that means is like having the strings nice and close to the frets. And that's, if they're really high up off the frets, of course it's going to make your job more difficult as a guitar player. But don't worry, it can be fixed. So in case you're looking down at your guitar and you're like, dang, my frets are really high, dude. Well, no worries, because you can actually get that fixed. Okay, so let's talk about the right hand. Okay. The right hand, in my experience, is really where a lot of the magic happens, and where we can really just kind of get from that beginner level to almost like instantly sounding more advanced on the guitar. And sometimes, and a lot of people just end up doing this very naturally, whereas a lot of times, I would say it's almost like 50-50, if not more than not. People are just not doing this technique naturally. And what I'm referring to is resting your hand on this bridge. So, as you can see, I've got a Gibson style bridge here. So I've got a bridge and a tailpiece. But whether you're on an acoustic or whatever kind of guitar is in your lap right now, this technique is universal. Okay, so basically wherever the saddles are, so wherever the strings kind of connect on the guitar, that's where you want to be resting your hand. So that it doesn't matter if it's a Fender style acoustic or a Gibson style guitar. And what we'll do is with the left hand, what we'll do is we'll just grab something very simple. We'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and you can actually do that across all strings. And it's kind of a chromatic style movement, if you've ever heard that term before. Basically, we're moving one fret at a time. And you can see that I'm engaging all 4 fingers here, okay? Now, I know it doesn't really sound super musical right now, but if you stick around to the end of the lesson, I'll definitely show you how to do this scale and to actually apply it in a really musical way. So go ahead, you guys, just get warmed up on this for a second. Just get your hand, both hands moving across the fretboard, getting all your fingers engaged, okay? And we're gonna be talking about all kinds of stuff with the right hand here. So why don't you just go ahead and freeze? Okay, so everybody stop moving, okay? And that doesn't mean move at all, okay? So now look at your right hand. Now what's it doing? Okay, so are you floating? Is your right hand just kind of like, just kind of not connected to anything? Are you planted on the bridge? Are you using your pinky finger? A lot of people do this. A lot of people plant with their pinky finger and pick. So are you doing any kind of combination, right? So this is like I said, this is a really important thing to check into as a guitar player, because of course there's strumming. We got strumming, and then you can see my right hand is just floating, right? Right, there's no real connection there, right? I'm just kind of strumming with my pick, okay? But anytime that we're doing riffs, scales, soloing, check out my right hand, okay? And then check it out. Also, you'll see a combination. So if you see something like this, so if you could pick up on that, I'm doing a mixture of both strumming and hitting those single notes. So, and so yeah, so I'm strumming, I'm floating with my right hand, and then when those single notes come up, I'm getting that hand planted. Okay, so this is a huge thing, and I'm not like making this stuff up. This is something that I've actually I found that I was doing this naturally, and when I started teaching guitar, and a lot of my students were struggling, you know, I started being like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I hit those notes? And I said, I actually get my hand down, and then I started researching. I just like would YouTube, you know, famous guitar players, everybody from Zakk Wylde to Paul McCartney to everybody in between, and just really taking a look at their picking hand, okay, and noticing what are they doing, and sure enough, always they've got their hand down. And this goes for finger picking too, guys. You know, if you ever get into anything, you know, so as you can see, I've dropped my pick. Okay, so and a lot of times, like the classical position is more like this, like with no, you know, there's nothing planted here, right? But I mean, you know, you just go ahead and look up YouTube Paul McCartney playing Blackbird live, and you'll see he's just got that right hand, or sorry, the picking hand, just planted right on the guitar. Okay, and that's always what's going to get you more stability, more accuracy. You're going to be playing cleaner, playing faster, all that good stuff. And so let's go over a bunch of techniques. So the first thing I want to go over is how to hold the pick. Okay, so how to hold the pick is a really big one. So a lot of people, they just kind of grab it, they just hold it just like normal, right? But what I want you to do is everybody just go ahead and do this. So put your pick out on your finger, so it's like kind of pointing right at your screen, right at me, just like I'm doing with you. Okay, you put your thumb down. Okay, and this is where a lot of people stop. However, what I'm going to get you to do is curl that your index finger around the pick. So now if you're to put your hand down and point it back at me, you should be able to actually lift your thumb off and have that pick rest against the side of your finger. Okay? So let's just go over that one more time. And a lot of you are probably doing this naturally already, and if you aren't, we're going to tie this in with the right hand technique and how this all will add up. Okay, so again, so have your pick just resting on your pointer finger, bring your thumb down, and then the finger curl is key. Okay, this is going to set your pick up at roughly a 45-degree angle. Okay. And we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, you should be able to lift your thumb off and have the pick on the side of your finger. Okay, so let me know, guys, how many of you were doing that this finger curl kind of position? How many of you guys were doing that naturally? And how many of you are actually not doing that right now? Let me know. And I'm going to grab a quick drink of water here.
Hey, while you're grabbing the quick drink of water, this is just from a little earlier, but somebody was asking when using your fret hand at a 90-degree angle, is there any worry about stress in your wrist when doing that?
Oh, the 90-degree angle. Yeah. I've heard people refer to, yeah, like when I've taught that, people will be like, well, man, doesn't that like kill your hand, or isn't that like dangerous, you know? So, you know, maybe for anybody out there with like intense arthritis, or you know, carpal tunnel syndrome, or anything crazy like that, you know, maybe that's going to be something that you definitely want to approach very gently. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just a guitar technique to reach those low strings, and to keep in a stabilized position. Because if your thumb's up here, I mean, just go ahead and try to see how far your pinky finger will reach up, and you can see, like, I can hardly get my pinky finger up. Like, I have to start moving my thumb down and getting that wrist in that position in order to reach those big things, those big scales. So, and this goes with bar chords too. I've got, like, just a slight kind of, like, it's not like a 90 degree, but with bar chords, I've definitely got that same kind of idea going, maybe a 45-degree angle or something like that, with the wrist. So, yeah, so if there's anybody out there with intense arthritis, definitely approach this very gently. And guys, just remember, like, if you're ever experiencing pain with guitar, just stop. Try not to work through it. When I was at music college, there was people that had to drop out because they were just going on their scales just way too hard, and ended up developing tendinitis and all kinds of stuff like that. So, okay, so hopefully that answers the question. So let's get into the right hand. So now that we've got our pick held in the proper position, and we've talked about where to place our palm, and by the way, you can see here that I've got kind of like this little section of my like the heel of my hand almost, right? So this little section right here, right in the center. So if you were to squish your hands together, you should see kind of a line there in your hand, and it's just like, yeah, right below that, right at the heel. Okay. And there's a nice little pocket there. So this does a whole bunch of things for your guitar playing. It's going to alleviate your shoulder, okay? So you don't have to, hold your hand up, because when you're floating, of course, then, you got to hold your arm up, and a lot of people get kind of a sore shoulder. So you can actually, like, relax your shoulder a lot. And then, it's just going to give you a lot of stability. So we're going to go ahead and just do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. Now, what you'll notice is, so let's go back to the right hand. And so as I'm going up, if I stay planted, okay, so I'm stayed planted all the time, and just hit the frontal shot for a second, or a zoom in on my hand or whatever. So anyways, you can see that, my right hand, that I've got this, like, really weird angle going on with my hand. I think the frontal shot did work the best. But yeah, so check out so you can see my wrist here. So I've got the wrist and then my hand. And that's speaking about, like, things that will hurt and bother your muscles and your tendons in your hands, then that is one of them. So this is the next right hand technique that I want to introduce you to, which I call gliding across the strings. So as we're coming up that scale, all you're going to do is just glide that hand across the bridge, okay? And all you need to do is just make sure that this wrist angle stays the same. So it's not doing any of this motion, okay? It's just gliding along that bridge, and your left hand and your right hand are just working together, okay? And so you're able to just glide along that bridge. So let's go ahead and put that to work so far. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we just move up to the next string. And just go this at your own pace, or follow me, or whatever is the most comfortable. And you can see it, like, basically as soon as I hit the D string, I start moving up. So, and you can actually see a little bit of my bridge starting to poke out a little bit here, because I'm not actually on it anymore. I'm really just I've glided down the bridge a little bit. So that's going to keep my wrist in a nice straight position, no kind of weird tweaks or anything like that. And so then my left hand, my right hand are able to stay together. And then when we're at the very top, then you can just come back up that scale. And this time I'm going 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm basically back on the bridge. And now just one more concept for you guys, and this works especially well for acoustic guitar because there's a little bit bigger area here. But you can actually start on the wood of the guitar and just come up right on top of the strings, okay? And that's kind of the next thing that I want to go over is, so anyways, so you acoustic guitar players out there, you can try that, just kind of putting it right near the sound hole, because as you guys probably know already, but if you don't, the guitar notes sound a lot warmer when we're picking up here than they do way back here. But if you're playing some country stuff, you know, you can see that you get that kind of that country twang kind of sound, right, way back here. But if I do that same lick up here, you know, it just doesn't have that same country twang, does it? So, of course, you know, unless you're playing country or you're specifically going for that style, then, you know, yeah, just rocking way back close to the bridge is it will get you that twang. But generally speaking, unless you're playing country or some sort of twang, then you want to be kind of a little bit farther forward on the guitar when you're strumming and picking. So that can help. Is just getting that right hand farther forward, and you can actually rest your right hand right on top of the wood of the guitar, and flow forward like that, and just get right on top of the strings. Okay, so that brings me to the next big right hand technique that I want to shine light on, is playing, just putting your right hand right on top of strings. And so this does a whole bunch of things for our playing. So firstly, we're talking about stabilization so that we can play faster, cleaner, better, right? And but also what ends up happening here is when we, and you can do this on the bridge too, but that's the whole thing, is like once you start gliding up, I mean, maybe you're wondering, it's like, well, but dude, I'm like hitting wrong, I'm hitting strings, like I'm touching strings, you know? But the good thing is that when you're up here and focusing on the higher strings, then it's okay that my thumb is touching against the low strings, because I'm not playing those strings, just straight up, right? So check this out. I'm gonna go ahead and just I won't do anything on the bridge here. Check this out. So I'm gonna be floating. Okay, so I don't know how high your speakers are turned up, but there's a bunch of kind of resonating sounds and vibrations off of the guitar there. But when I get my right hand stabilized, I'll go ahead and play that same thing, and I'm gliding up the strings. Okay, and again, I don't know how turned up your speakers are, but yeah, you can hear that when my right hand is on top of the strings, it just ends up making everything that you play sound cleaner. Okay, so imagine being able to clean up what you're playing, you know, and not let random strings ring and all that kind of stuff. And this is big for electric guitar players, especially with distortion. Like, it's so easy to let some strings just kind of resonate and vibrate, and as you can imagine, with all that volume, it just ends up just taking away from what you're actually trying to do. So this is a very simple strategy that you guys can implement that will just get your just clean up your playing, okay? And so that's really the big thing with the right hand positioning, is to play faster, play cleaner, and just have more control over single notes. Okay, so anytime you're playing one note, when you're just picking one note at a time, you're gonna wanna get that right hand down. Even if you're strumming. You know, we talked about this this thing a minute ago where I was just kind of playing some single notes and strumming. Okay, so I was strumming, but then I'd hit a single note. Strum, I'm floating. Back to strumming and floating, right? So you can see me transitioning between those two methods there. And the last thing that I want to mention about this whole right hand thing is alternate picking, okay? So everybody just go ahead and do this. Just go ahead and flutter on your low E string like this. Just go ahead and play as fast as you can, okay? It's okay if it's not as fast as me. I've been doing this for a while. It's kind of like the intro to, if you've seen the movie Pulp Fiction, there's a great surf guitarist from the 60s named Dick Dale, who had I always forget the name. It's kind of a weird, strange song name, but that's kind of like the intro. Okay, so what are you doing? Like, what's going on with your guitar playing? And I'm going to show you some tweaks that you can make instantly that will actually get you just playing way faster. Okay, so of course, the big thing there is you can see I've got my right hand stabilized, right? But also, let's talk about the pick now. Okay, so now you can see I've got my pick on the side of my finger. Okay, so just double check on that. So make sure you get that finger curl around the pick. Okay, and so what that does is it will put the pick on a 45-degree angle. Okay, so as you can see, my pick is not flat against the string. Okay, because if you check it out, that's like actually quite a bit of string contact with the pick. But as soon as I kind of play like this, I put the pick on the edge of I put the string on the edge of the pick, then there's a lot less string and pick contact. Therefore, so just go ahead and do that exact same thing. Try to make your pick totally flat against the string, and then do that same thing. And I'll do it too. And it's literally this much different. Like I can't even possibly play faster. Okay, but as soon as I put that pick on the angle, and that's what the finger curl does for us, is it kind of like automatically puts that pick at almost a 45-degree angle, and I'm able to play that note just like 10 times faster or whatever it is. So also what this helps us do is so we can do alternate picking. So on a simple scale like this, we're just able to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Just like one of those old grandfather clocks that you see. They're just like tick, tock, right? So that's what your pick's doing. And so, and that's the other thing that's a really big key secret with this, is like if you try to do it all with downstrokes, kind of sounds like the start of Communication Breakdown by Led Zeppelin. But but as soon as you do down and ups, right, you can just hear you can just play so much faster. Okay, so that's basically kind of how you play guitar. Okay, so that's like the technique that you want to have installed to basically ensure your success on the instrument. And what I've found with my many years of teaching is that if people don't have some of these basics down, especially with the right hand, people can kind of get away with the left hand. It's okay if you get a little bit of fret buzz here and there, but when you're trying to play single notes and do any kind of arpeggiating, any kind of like just detailedness, or you're trying to solo or anything like that, and if you don't have that right hand planted, if you're not gliding across the strings, if you're not doing alternate picking, if that pick isn't held with the finger curl, to get that pick on the 45-degree angle and all that kind of stuff, it'll just make your whole job on the guitar just more difficult than it really needs to be. So let's open it up for a few questions right now. Let me know if you guys, if this is just like totally making sense. Let me know if you guys had to change anything. Just let me know what you guys thought about this so far. And then what we'll do coming up here is I want to show you how you can make that 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern into a really cool musical thing. So we're going to pull up a tab here in a second. We're going to jam along with a track. And we're going to be, just putting this to work, okay? So what's the good word, Jeff?
All right, we got a lot of people interacting here. To your question earlier, a lot of people were kind of holding the pick that way naturally, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got a question from T-Munge01. He says, do you still rest your hand on the bridge if you have a floating bridge?
Very good question. Thank you for bringing that up. So, and just so you guys know what a floating bridge is, it's not what you see on my guitar. I have a hardtail bridge, which means that that there's no like a whammy bar. It's basically like a whammy bar is what a floating bridge is. Of course, there's all kinds of different kinds of whammy bar systems. And in fact, like when you think about a Fender style bridge, that like a Strat, for instance, if you think about Jimi Hendrix, he was on that thing all the time. But it's kind of a mix between a hardtail and the whammy bar. So a floating bridge really got popularized in the 80s with all the kind of crazy shred kind of stuff that was coming out at the time. Excuse me. And people were doing those wild like dive bombs, like the big boo and all this like crazy guitar effects and stuff. So and so they're very sensitive, aren't they? And I'm really glad that you brought that question up. So the thing is with the floating bridges is basically the rules essentially still apply, but you just really have to be careful as to how much pressure you're directly applying to that thing. Because the thing is that if you apply too much pressure to it, I'm sure you're already noticing that it's changing the pitch. Okay, and of course that's not what we want. We don't want to change the pitch of our guitar when we're playing. So, and that it depends on the guitar and stuff like that. But maybe you want to try that thing I was referring to earlier. So instead of right on the bridge, you might want to just move up just like an inch or two, a little bit. So when you're playing the low string, you can actually see that I'm actually connected on the guitar. Okay, I'm not actually on the bridge. Okay, so I'm connected on the guitar, and then as I can still climb up and get all the same benefit of this technique, but I can actually gain stability on the strings and not the bridge. So I can still rest on the strings, and again, it doesn't matter because I'm not touching or not playing these strings. I'm playing these strings when I'm on top of the strings, right? So you can still gain stability by resting on the strings. So you might have to, floating bridges are a little tricky that way. Even they're tricky to set up and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, hopefully that gives you some ideas on what you can do. What's next, bud?
So a lot of people are saying this is feeling pretty good. The tips are really helping them out. So that's good.
Awesome.
We just so everyone here knows what kind of how we're going to do this is we're going to save the questions that are related to the lesson for right now, and then we'll ask the more general ones at the end. So if we haven't answered your question, that's why.
Okay.
The next question is, sometimes I accidentally end up muting notes when resting on the bridge sometimes. Do you have any advice?
Sometimes I end up accidentally muting notes when resting on the bridge sometimes. Okay, so if I understand what you're saying, you end up muting notes. And I mean, we'll talk about palm muting in future lessons, which is a great strategy because you can actually just take this right hand and just bump it forward an inch or two, and then you can start getting these kind of tones where instead of, right, we get that palm muted. Right, so probably what you need to do is just back up your hand just a little bit so you can see that instead of like being forward on the bridge, if you just back it up just a wee bit, then you'll be right on that bridge, and there will be no struggles hitting wrong strings or accidentally muting strings. And also just remember that you want to glide your hand across the bridge. Okay, so if you're trying to hit some of these strings, some of the low strings, and your hand is like kind of glided down the bridge a little bit, you need to back your hand up so that you get off of those strings, right? So just remember that your hands are trying to work together here. So when you're playing the low strings, your right hand is up here, and then when you're playing the high strings, your hands are up here. So it's really like they work together, okay? So I really think, like, just watch me do this for a second, right? So you can see that both hands are interacting together, right? So and that's a big challenge, especially for beginner guitar players, to get 2 or 3 or 4 things happening at once, right? But yeah, that's really the big idea with that, and that should and hopefully will fix your problem there. Do we get another one, or should we get into a track? Or
we have one more, and then we'll go into the track, and then we'll address the rest of the questions at the end. Max Chell says, what picking hand motion do you use the most? Your wrist?
Great questions, guys. This is like, there's there's so many things to remember and stuff. So, I mean, just so you guys know, I'm more of like a blues rocker You know, I really love blues, classic rock from the 70s. I really like 90s rock. That's not to say I don't love 80s stuff and harder stuff and metal and stuff like that. I mean, I truly like it all, even like country. Which is pretty rare for a rock guitar player, right? So now I don't like a lot of like a metal guy, some guy that can do those crazy fast, like just insane licks and sweep arpeggios and stuff like that, may give you a slightly different take on this. However, I was actually able to ask this really great guitar player. His name's Ian Thornley. Let me know who here knows Ian Thornley from Big Wreck. I'd be curious to know if anybody has heard of Big Wreck. Anyways, they're a Canadian rock band, but they all actually met at in Berkeley in Boston. And anyways, a fantastic hard rock band. You should check them out. So that guy can absolutely shred. Like, he is just an insane guitar player, just so good. And I actually got to meet him, and I asked him about this solo that he plays on this track called A Million Days. And I just asked him, like, how do you play that fast? How do you get that going on? And what he said is it's not about, like, the arm movement, okay? You don't want to do, like, that arm movement, like the big arm movement that you see a lot of metal guys doing. So it's almost like they, like, almost looks like they flex their bicep and they just are going like in this straight arm motion. What he says is the motion all comes from the wrist, okay? So especially this little section of your wrist. I'm trying to figure out which camera this is. So it's, this is better back here. Okay, so it's really this motion, okay? Coming right from this little position in your wrist, okay? So that's where all that action is coming from, okay? Okay, to play really, to play fast and all that kind of stuff. So, and of course with strumming, you know, you can really like get that right hand a lot looser. You know, that's where you get into Pete Townsend big windmills and all that kind of stuff. But my point is like, yeah, it's just like the right hand ends up being a lot looser. Like the whole wrist is like, you know, just very floppy almost, and it's you know, just really like an outlet for the rhythm. So hopefully that answers your question. Really good question, guys. I really appreciate you bringing these points up because they are really important.
Okay, we are good to move on, and we'll ask the rest of your questions later, guys.
Cool, guys. Okay, so we'll go over this pretty quickly because we're already at the hour. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to put this 1, 2, 3, 4 thing to work. This is a great thing to do. Pro guitar players do it. Beginner guitar players do it, everybody in between. It's just a great, fantastic little warm-up where you can just turn your brain off. You don't have to think about, okay, you know, complex left-hand patterns and stuff. You can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And therefore, what you can do is focus in on the right hand, okay? Am I planted? Am I gliding? Am I alternate picking? Is my pick on the 45-degree angle? Okay, so it's such a great thing to just turn your brain off and to just to zoom in, like put your technique under the microscope, okay? And that's what I'm really inviting you to do in this lesson. And I promise you that if you integrate these things into your playing, it's just going to make your life as a guitar player just so much easier. Because I've just seen it over and over again, time and time again. It just works like a charm. If anybody's challenged, you know, oftentimes this right hand isn't in place, and we tweak it, and they're just off to the races after that. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and bring up this track? It's called Funk Yeah. And so it's obviously done in the style of funk. So for those of you that don't know how to read tab, it's basically like flipping your guitar towards you, okay? So just like this. So you guys can just go ahead and do that for the people that don't know how to read tab. And so that's how it goes, because the bottom string, if we go ahead and look at that tab again, you'll see that the bottom string is, the bottom line, I should say, is the low string. So if you flip your guitar up, that will help you get that. So because that bottom line of the tab is going to be the low string, and the highest line is going to be the high string. And yeah, just in case you don't know how to read tabs, just search super easy beginner guitar tabs, and yeah, there's plenty of information on exactly how to read tab. Tab is just essential, guys. You just really got to get this into your playing, and being able to read tab and all the different tab notation and stuff is huge. It takes, like, of course we can all read numbers, right, and associate them with the frets. That's easy. But to be able to look at tab and just like be able to cycle through it quickly, that's a whole nother thing. So I'm gonna, just because we're running out of time here a little bit, I'm just gonna be moving forward like you know how to read tab. So check it out. Maybe I'll just play it for you guys first, and I want you guys to see what the heck I'm doing with my fingers and see if you can recognize it, okay? 2, 3, go. Okay, so all of a sudden we were able to take that kind of boring 1, 2, 3, 4 movement, which doesn't sound very musical, and we were able to apply it into a funk song. Okay, so again, we're playing like a bass line here. We're really following the bass. So, so we start with our pinky finger on the 5th fret of the low E string, and then we go up to the 2nd fret of the A string, and all you're gonna do is just ascend up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and so, and what you can do, I don't have it tabbed out this way, but you can actually just go the 2nd fret. It's really actually, I do have it tabbed out. It's really the last line that you'll see in there. But so you can actually just go like this. I'll play that slower. So you can actually just start out with that, guys. So you can hear the rhythm, boom, 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 boom. Okay, and for those of you that can read rhythmic notation, it is there for you. And so as we move forward, we got 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, and then another 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so as you can see, we're just ascending up that 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern on all these different strings. And then we finish it off by going back to the start. Okay, so you can see that that's really the last line, but it's designed to start over again. So see if you guys can play along with me. And for those of you that are maybe a little bit challenged by that, remember what I said at the when I first started teaching this song was you can actually start here just play really like it's kind of the first bar and the last bar. So it would be like this, and then just right back to the low string, and that will work out fine. Bonus points if you can tell me why this works. Has anybody said octave?
Not yet. I think you just gave it away.
I probably didn't wait long enough. But yeah, so because that's all that's happening is we're playing these notes an octave higher. So we got boom, 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 boom. It's the same set of notes, but it sounds like it's higher. and that's kind of your crash course into what an octave is.
Ooh, Matt Wellman did say octaves, and I think he might have done it before
Oh,
it
I
showed
think
up
I
on his
gave
screen.
it to him. No, that's
Hey-
good work, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
a real quick question. A couple
Sure.
people were asking if you're muting the notes at all.
It might sound like that just because I got a little distortion on my guitar. And you can mute them. Sounds kind of cool. But no, I'm not actually intentionally muting them. So they should be, I think it's just the tone that I got going on here. I got a little bit of dirt on my tone. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and put this to work with the track. I'm going to slow this down to about 75% of the track. And Jeff, just remind me, man, these whoever's watching this can get the download for this?
Yeah, you can. So you have to be on the JamPlay site and not live stream. So if you're on live stream, log into JamPlay and go to the event page, and then just click the practice tab, and then you'll be able to download everything for the whole course: the tracks, the tabs, guitar profiles, PDFs, everything.
Cool. Okay, so that's good to know. So there is actually a difference. You have to get into JamPlay. And maybe you guys are familiar with the 7-day trial that's going on right now. And so everybody has access to JamPlay for a week, right, Jeff? An entire week.
That's right. You just got to click the link in the email you got. If you didn't get an email about the 7-day trial, just go ahead and write support@jamplay.com, and we will hook you up with the code.
Cool. Okay. That's awesome. So literally everybody in the world can get access to, and no credit card is required. That's super cool. You guys are doing that. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the track. This is going to be 75% of the speed. So here we go. And there's our tempo. 1, 2, ready, go. And why don't you try up picks? Okay, so you guys keep on playing it. I'm going to speed it up. Okay, so that's 90% of the track here. Okay, and let's go up to 100. Here's 100%, guys. All right. So we are actually pretty much 10 minutes after the hour already. So now here's the deal, guys. I'm so stoked that you guys have stuck around this long, and because this is some really powerful information. I'm so stoked that I was able to share this with you. So definitely session 2 in a couple of hours here, what we're going to get into is a really big focus on the single note riffs. I was hoping to get to one more today, but let's get into some questions, and then definitely join me in a couple of hours. And what we'll do is we'll just break down all kinds of tracks. We're going to be breaking down songs like some kind of hard rock stuff. We're going to do a track kind of done in the style of Bon Jovi, and we're going to just integrate some more rhythmic stuff with the right hand, and just each session, guys, is just going to just keep on building on the next, okay? So until the next session here, let's just make sure that, all your questions are answered. And so what's going on the live feed there?
So we got a real quick question. This applies to everyone. MGA847 says, hey, what do we need to do before the next session? So what should they practice?
Really good point. And awesome to hear that you're planning on coming out for the next session. So, okay, and this is your homework, okay? So now everybody go ahead and type in to the chat box any combination of numbers 1 through 4. Okay, so that could be 3, 2, 4, 1. That could be 1, 2, 4, 3. That could be 4, 1, 2, 2. Or, you know what I mean? So just mix up any 4 numbers and go ahead and type that whatever your unique combination of those 4 numbers is, and type them into the chat box and let me know when those are coming in. So we should see 1, 2, 4, 3.
We got 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4, 3, 1.
Okay. So let's start with that first one. I think it was 1, 4, 2, 3, right? So
sorry, one sec. Yeah, 1, 3, 2, 4 was the first
1, 3, 2, 4. Okay. So whoever put that one in 1, 3, 2, 4, that is going to be your homework for the next session. Is you just told me what your homework is. Okay. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to go. In this case, we're going to take 1, 3, 2, 4. 1, 3, 2, 4. 1, 3, 2, 4. 1, 3, 2, 4. And what you'll notice, and you can actually just grab really any combination. You can even start on the 4th too, like 4, 2, 3, 1, 4, and so on and so forth. So there's really just a ton of different combinations that you can do. I forget how many there are exactly. I used to have a piece of paper on my right on my practice station for my guitar playing, and I would just pick a random one, put a metronome to it, and go through these, and I got a lot of value from these. And again, so you can just turn your brain off and just focus in on that right hand technique. Also, your other part of your homework would be to log into JamPlay, get the track, and see if you can go ahead and play along with this, because in a couple of hours, that'll be essentially the first thing that we play is the track Funk Yeah. So check out that funky track, and you can get your fingers moving across the fretboard on that.
Okay, let's get to the questions now.
All right.
The most common asked question in history. Mm-hmm. What strength/size of pick are you using?
All right. Is this quite a well-known or quite a common question?
It is. People love gear.
Yes. Okay. Well, you know what? I actually really love gear too. So, so we can be friends. So I am using a Jim Dunlop Tortex pick, 1.14. Okay. So that is a thick pick. Okay, and definitely when you're getting into any kind of like music with more edge, whether that's kind of like hard rock or just classic rock even, and stuff like that. And if you're trying to play fast licks, I've found that the stiffer the pick you go, and usually around that kind of 1 millimeter point or the 1.14, that's kind of getting into a pretty thick territory where there's still a little bit of bend. Like if I'm to kind of press it with my thumb and first finger, I can get a little bit of squish out of it, but it's pretty stiff at the same time. And I just find that it helps me play fast. I'm able to plow through the strings nice and hard and heavy to get big sounding chords and making this whole guitar resonate. So yeah, 1.14 is the name of the game right here. So
it's the name of the game. Go out and buy some. We are not sponsored by Dunlop, but we should be. All right. User Mountain Bike says, I feel like I lose control of my pick if I lay it across a curved finger. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if you're to put your first finger flat right on the pick, that it's going to, you're going to have a little bit more kind of stability on it as opposed to that. I don't know. It's probably because you've just never done it before. Okay, so, and oftentimes, if I was just thinking about this earlier today, if it's uncomfortable, it's probably good for you. And that can be true when you're trying to expand yourself in any kind of way. Sometimes getting to the next stage and whatever, whether that's fitness or guitar playing or business or whatever the case, it can be uncomfortable. So just the fact that it feels like you're kind of about to lose control, just keep on going on it. Just try squeezing a little harder. I would just say it sounds to me probably like it's just you haven't done it like with the finger curl before. Go ahead and actually you can YouTube how Zach Wilde holds his pick, and it's just like a 30-second video. It's just like, yeah, hold it like this. But it's the same thing. You can see it's like, it's not. He doesn't have his finger flat. right, like the pad of his finger right flat. It's on the side of his finger pretty much, okay? So, and one thing that you can try doing is like, you know, you can see that I'm way backed up on my pick right now, but if I choke up on the pick and only let a little bit stick out, you know, that's another big thing with the pick holding that might help too. It's just how much of that pick is sticking out. So, you know, I usually just have just a little bit sticking out. So, anyways, hopefully that helps.
Okay, we have a question from Roy Sullivan, who says that my index finger is curved. How do I compensate with both my left and right hands?
Okay, your index finger is curved. So I'm wondering which index finger you're talking about, Roy. Is it your left index finger or your right index finger? How do I compensate left and right hand? I'm not sure if I actually understand that question.
Yeah, that's a good point. Which hand? I'm assuming he has an abnormality with his finger and it's curved, but I don't know which hand. So yeah, it would help if you let us know which hand.
Yeah, Roy, let us know. My index finger is curved. Yeah, hopefully we hear from you, Roy. And just maybe if you could expand on that a bit. Yeah, can we come back to that one maybe?
We will come back to that one later. Okay. Tom says, hey, what can you do to increase finger stretch?
Finger stretch. Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually don't really think that you need to do anything too crazy to increase your finger stretch. Yeah, I find that it's mostly technique based. Okay, so if you kind of go back in your memory to the first quarter of the lesson, we were talking about that thumb placement in the back of the neck and getting your wrist on an angle. Okay, and so what that will immediately do is I can literally and by the way, my thumb is way down here. You can see it. You can totally see it on the bottom part of the neck. So if I do that and reach my hand across, all of a sudden I can basically it's almost like, I can just put that whole hand just stretch right out on the guitar. So I can stretch from the 3rd fret to about the 8th fret pretty comfortably. Right? And that's, I can see my other fingers are totally straight, and they're just laid right out. But yeah, I mean, my thumb is very low on the neck. So it really just depends on what you're doing. I also, here's a very simple pattern that you can do, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7. And you can see that I'm not using my 3rd finger, okay? And also, you can see that my hands are all laid down because, again, I got my thumb pretty low on the neck. I got my hand reaching around. And you might have to take breaks. I can definitely feel some tension in my wrist and stuff like that when I do that. This is essentially a Mixolydian scale. I really got a ton of benefit from all the modes and just learning these scales, but especially these big motions. You can also grab the 1st note and the 5th note, and then this note up on the 7th fret. And this is a chord that you see the Police doing a lot. Okay, so definitely I'm feeling the burn. You know what I mean? So don't be scared or worried that you're doing it wrong or whatever. It's completely normal to feel that burn. But yeah, I would say the answer to the question really is technique based. You just want to get that thumb in the right place, get your wrist at the right angle, and you should be able to stretch your fingers, as far as they already are, So, but yeah, a lot of people that you just can't stretch your hand or your fingers with your thumb over here. I can hardly even stretch 2 frets, right? But as soon as I put my thumb down there and get that hand reaching around, then that's what gives me my finger stretch. So yeah, so between that, so 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, and again without my 3rd finger, that guy's just totally not engaged. And then also just this police chord. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that gives you some ideas. Anything else, Jeff?
Okay, we got a comment here that I thought you would like. From Munti Jockey. He says, I changed the way I hold the pick after 8 years playing, following your advice, to curve the index and to put the pick in an angle. And I play 30% faster.
Yes!
Yeah, that's exciting.
That is awesome. And that's so awesome to hear. But guess what? I'm I'm not actually that surprised because this, I'm telling you, this is very powerful stuff, and that's so awesome, dude. Like if you've been playing guitar for 8 years and you got some knowledge out of this, that's really powerful. But yeah, I've seen it time and time again. This stuff is super powerful and it really, really works. So that's so awesome to hear. I mean, and like I said, a lot of people do this naturally, right? I was lucky enough that when I started playing, nobody taught me this stuff, but I was just one of the lucky ones that was doing it naturally. And that's not to say that I was like gifted or whatever, but a lot of people who are really musically talented, they'll get held back by stuff like this. They won't be able to do this because because they just don't have this stuff naturally. They just need to be shown. And boom, like you said, like 30% faster, like inside of an hour. That's so powerful, man. I'm so happy to hear that.
Okay, so we have a question. This is completely unrelated to anything, but I thought it would be kind of fun. Do you like Rush? And I'm assuming, like, as a Canadian, you're legally required to like Rush. That's part of the Constitution.
Okay, well, you know what? I haven't actually listened to a ton of Rush, but I will say that song Tom Sawyer is a pretty badass song. Every time I hear it on the radio, I'm like, turn that up. But I do have a funny Rush story. So the guitar player, Alex Lifeson, was born in the same town as me, okay? So he was born in a little small town in the Rocky Mountains in Canada called Fernie, BC, and that's where I grew up and went to high school and stuff like that. So totally random. So that's that's my Rush story.
We have a question from Johan, about your LP. He says, I hear a little buzz on your LP. Is fret buzz fine when playing? I've adjusted my guitar, but can't make it all. Can't remove it all.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So I actually just got my guitar set up like 2 weeks ago, and I hear it too. There's quite a bit of fret buzz in there, especially on that low string, which we were kind of focusing a lot on today, was that low string. So I would say that is too much buzz. Now here's the big thing with fret buzz. On acoustics, it's not really ideal because, it's an acoustic. You don't want to hear that fret sizzle. On electric, a lot of times you can get away with a ton of buzz, okay? Now the big thing is it audible through the amp? Okay, a lot of time, and what's confusing is you can have an amp sitting in front of you, but if I go ahead and play this note, you can hear that my low E string is buzzing, but is it coming through the amp? That's the big question. And it's a little bit hard for me to tell right now. I've got just some small speakers and they're turned down quite low right now, but yeah, so that's really the big thing. Is it audible through the amp? And it can be a little bit confusing, but yeah, a little bit of fret buzz on electric is actually totally okay, and it's good because that means that your strings are nice and close to your frets, which will allow you to play faster and easier and better and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, a little bit of fret buzz, totally okay. But yeah, I would say that my guitar right now has a little bit too much, but there's nothing I can really do about it because I don't know how to fix it. I bring that into the pros. I just play the thing. So, by the way, a person who fixes guitars is called a luthier, and that's spelled Luthier. I'm pretty sure it's a French spelling, but yeah, luthier is how a lot of people pronounce it in Canada. But yeah, luthier. That's a guitar builder, a guitar fixer. So if you have a little too much fret buzz, or your strings are way too high off your fretboard, a lot of this stuff can really make a guitar just so much easier to play. So, but yeah, good ear, man. Thanks for pointing that out. And I do plan on getting this fixed when I get home. I'm gonna phone up that guitar repairman and give him heck for it.
Yeah, so. Launch into him. All right. Just so you guys know, we're not going to take any new questions starting now. We've got 3 more, and we're just going to finish off with those.
Yeah, guys, just come back, right? Like I'm going to be here literally like almost every 2 hours all weekend. Not that often, but and what are the times again, Jeff?
So the next session tonight is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then after that, it will be at 9 p.m. Eastern. So there's only a 2-hour delay between the the second
And it's
session
the
tonight.
same time every day?
No, tomorrow,
yeah, that's right.
the weekend days will start at 12 Eastern, and then 3 Eastern, and 6 Eastern.
So guys, write that down right now, okay? So, you know, that would be awesome to get all you guys back, because we'll just be able to do a continuation of this, right? Like, and that's kind of how I designed the course, is so that we're just going to keep on bumping stuff up. So, so yeah, just one more time on the times, Jeff.
So tonight will be 7 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'd recommend anybody who remembers or who's here right now, add this to your calendar on your phone right now so you don't forget, because it's easy just to let it slip. And this is a
Yes.
great course and you don't want to miss it. If you do
Exactly.
forget the times, check out jamplay.com. All the times are listed on the outside of the site.
Cool.
Okay, so the next question is from Max Chell from Russia, and he says, can you advise something about how to track playing progress, music studies, and how to organize it?
Really good question, man. Yes, I can, because that's the whole thing. A lot of times people sit down and they're like, okay, I'm going to practice guitar, and then they don't know what the heck to practice, and then they don't even know if they're getting better, and then that leads to people getting frustrated, which leads to people quitting, okay? And that's not what we want. Okay, so we want to get you guys motivated, and you want to see that that progress, right? So, so actually, we just recorded a short video about practicing for 5 minutes a day. I have this 5-minute guitar philosophy. Okay, so if you set a timer for 5 minutes and focus in on trouble areas, and that could be just one chord change, back and forth for 5 minutes. Like, say if you're struggling with a C to a G, and I just go like this for 5 minutes. How many times do you think I can play that? I don't know, but a lot is the answer, right? So, so just focusing in on trouble areas with a timer, okay? Not like guessing, oh, that was about 5 minutes, but actually set a timer on your phone. A lot of times what I do is I say, I actually I say, okay, Google, set a time for 5 minutes. Or timer for 5 minutes, and you can talk to Siri if you have an iPhone or whatever. Or you can just search, if you just Google search 5-minute timer in Google and press search, the 5-minute timer will instantly start. So it's so easy to get a timer these days, and I just find that really powerful. And specifically to focus on a trouble area or one scale or one song. And then when that timer goes up, you can be like, okay, I think that was pretty good. Or, you know what, I think I can still focus on that. I'm going to reset the timer for another 5 minutes or whatever you decide to do from there. But I find that a timer is really helpful. Okay. Also, how do we bring clarity and data to what we're doing on the guitar? Because a lot of times, like I said, you can get really frustrated if you don't actually see your progress, right? And so a great way to do that is kind of similar to what I did a minute ago when I said you were playing this track and it was at 75%. And I said, okay, you guys keep on playing. I'm going to speed it up to 90. Okay, I'm going to speed it up to 100. So the more measurable that you can be with your guitar playing, the better. So there's programs out there that do that. Do you guys actually like endorse anything that slows down music or anything?
I can't remember the name of the program. We recommend, I think it's called, is it Transcriber? Gosh darn it, we just talked about this in the live chat the other day.
Okay, well, we can get that for you for the next time. But the
Yeah.
one I use is called the Amazing Slowdowner. And you can actually see like you've slowed the song down to 50%, or whatever. It goes into like 50.73. It's like really accurate to how fast you're actually playing the song. So, and then what you can do is you can actually keep track, whether that's just your memory or whatever, but you'll be like, man, just last week, like I just increased this song by 5% or 10%. So that's really cool. Also, a metronome is a really big one because, of course, I refer to it as the speedometer of music or the speedometer of a musician because, you've got all those little dials in there. And again, you can get apps on your phone. I really like the one called the Pro Metronome. But yeah, you can just dial in and then you can just take a note of like how fast you're playing a particular scale or a riff or whatever, and then just try to increase that time, even if it's just by 1 beat per minute. Okay, and that's the big thing that people try to take, they try to bite or take off more than they can chew, as the saying goes. So, just small increments and then keeping track of those. Because then when you look back at that practice log, that piece of paper, and you say, 2 weeks ago, man, like I'm actually better. I don't feel like I'm better, but it actually says it right on the paper that I'm a better guitar player. That kind of stuff can be really motivating and just keep you going. And then also it just kind of creates like a competitive nature inside of yourself. Like, man, I'm gonna try one more beat per minute on the scale or whatever. So, you're always trying to like break your records and stuff like that. So, yeah, so that's kind of my advice between a timer and then keeping track, just keeping some sort of way to, track the data.
It's good advice. We had a couple people chime in and say that you can also do that with Song Surgeon and a software called Riff Station. So
cool.
Check that out.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there. Anything that will basically tell you the speed. But, if you don't want to go out and buy a $60 or $100 program, just get a metronome. You can get them off on your phone for cheap or free. Even there's online metronomes if you just search online metronome. So just make it simple. Just make it super simple.
Okay, we have a question from GLPX218, and he says, is it true that Satriani, Vai, Malmsteen, and others use at least a 1 millimeter pick because of the snapback?
Because of the snapback. So like I said a few minutes ago, like I appreciate all these guys. I think these guys are all killer guitar players. I just haven't personally studied their guitar playing, like I have guys like Slash, for instance, or Jimmy Page or Jimi Hendrix. Like that's kind of more of my school. However, like I said, I totally appreciate and love these guys. They're just absolute monsters. But I'm not actually sure what you are meaning by a snapback. So I'm trying to think about like when I hit a snapback. I'm actually not too sure what you mean by snapback. So, like I said, I'm really from a different school. But in my opinion and in my experience, like, I mean, if you just handed me a 0.75 millimeter pick, I literally could not play some licks as fast as I do with a 1 millimeter pick or a 1.14 in this case. So that I can tell you for sure. Like, I just find with a stiffer pick, there's less flexibility, therefore you're able to play things faster. It's just as simple as that. So I'm not sure what you mean by snapback, but hopefully that shines a little bit of light at least. So.
All right, last question for this session, guys, and then join us again at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
This is from Johnny Martinez. Maybe this is a little off topic, but my upper right shoulder on my strumming hand starts to hurt after prolonged playing. Do you know any stretching techniques?
Okay, so your upper right shoulder on my strumming hand. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're making me think about this one right here. Just the classic, you get that arm locked in. You see a lot of people actually pulling their hand or just locking their shoulder like that. I think that's probably gonna hit that part. But probably, what you're making me think of a little bit more is you're probably actually strumming like this. You probably got this whole side of your shoulder engaged when it really doesn't need to be. So you tell me, like, I mean, are you going to play guitar better if this whole area of your shoulder is flexed? The answer is no, right? So what you want to do is rest. Okay, this is a big one. And again, guys, really great question. So rest your arm on the edge of the guitar, okay? That's where you want to put that thing, okay? So as soon as you do that, then the shoulder gets alleviated, right? So you want to be able to just kind of be able to do a big roll with that shoulder, okay? And then the same thing goes for when you're planting your hand here. If you remember when we were going over the right hand technique, it kind of alleviates that shoulder as well. So I think the big thing there is not just stretching, but you actually want to focus in on alleviating that shoulder and that shoulder muscles. You don't need them engaged, okay? And you want to find stability points right here and right here to, so you can see when I'm strumming, check it out. My arm is completely on the guitar, completely resting right there. So then I'm just really activating my wrist. Certainly a little bit of your shoulder, but not really much of your shoulder. So that's a great question, man. I'm really glad you brought that up, and hopefully people stuck around for that, because that's a huge one. And same thing goes like when you're trying to work on like a fast lick or whatever the case is. A lot of times it's so easy to get this shoulder engaged. And that was another thing that guitar player Ian Thornley from Big Wreck told me was, that's awesome. I'm able to pass this off to you guys. Was not only is it the wrist right here, but he also specifically said to not get that shoulder engaged when you're going for fast stuff. Okay, so. Yeah, and again, I come from a different school. You know, you do see some metal guys, they get like this straight arm and they're able to play it extremely fast and really impressive kind of stuff. But it seems like they got their whole arm just locked. But, you know, that's just a whole nother, but this guy does do like some absolute mean shredding, like super, super fast. And he's telling me, you know, it's all about the wrist and alleviating the shoulder, So I guess that's it. Okay, so guys, again, we're going to be doing 3 hours a day, you know, and of course we went really another half hour just with questions here. So we're going to be doing at least 3 hours a day for the next 3 days, okay? So this is officially session number 1. We talked about your new left-hand pattern that you're going to focus on. And that you can integrate that into your playing for the rest of time, but definitely work on that before the next session. And also, we worked on the track Funk Yeah, which you can get off the JamPlay website. And yeah, just get those fingers to work. There's a tab available for you there as well. So, guys, this was a lot of fun. I really look forward to literally 8 more sessions of this. Believe it or not, you know, it sounds like a lot of hours, but this is totally fun, and I really look forward to the next one. So we will catch you at 7 p.m. Eastern, right?
That's right.
Catch you guys then. Until then, keep on ripping it.